My name is Mike Usrey. I'm an NMSU class of 1982 and 1984, as well as a University of Minnesota 1997. My wife is an Aggie. My father's an Aggie. I have a lot of cousins who are Aggies. My first engineering job was at White Sands Missile Range. So we bleed crimson and white here. We love NMSU. Since then, I've worn every chief ex-officer hat that there is, CTO, CEO, COO, CFO, Chief Marketing Officer. I've worn every hat through 3 varied and successful startup companies. And it's really an honor to be able to return some of what NMSU means to me by working through the Arrowhead program.
What insights and advice do you have for businesses at this time?
Actually, I prepared a couple of slides in anticipation of this question. What I wanted to do with my time today is call everyone's attention to a very useful report recently published by McKinsey & Company. The title of the report is COVID-19 Implications for Business. At the bottom of the PowerPoint is the link to this report. Actually, it's the link to the summary. The summary is quite extensive, and the report is long and dense, but packed with useful information. One of the excerpts that I specifically wanted to focus on is what they call the 5 horizons of restarting your business. So they talk about businesses need to focus on all 5 of these simultaneously to have a complete return. Obviously, you're going to focus on different things, maybe with different level of priority. But starting with the idea of resolve, and in this horizon or this phase, businesses need to focus on putting out fires. I have can't speak. I have shattered supply chain. I need to find substitutes. I need to find other sources. My place of business is a potential COVID hotspot for customers or employees. Just immediate term things that have to be taken care of. That's what's encapsulated in what they call the resolve horizon. Resilience is one step removed from that. Now that the fires are out, you need to figure out for the near term, how do I have more flexibility in my supply chains? How can I increase the credit that my business can access in case there's a resurgence of the disease? How can I scale my business output and be profitable at every scale? Can I figure out a way to be profitable at half scale, at full scale, at double scale, in response to the unknowns that may result from the disease? And for these 2 areas, I think Arrowhead Center has done really an outstanding job of collecting up resources, federal, state, local resources that people can draw upon. So I just wanted to very quickly share the link to the Arrowhead Center's COVID-19 resource page. They lead you New Mexico Secretary of State, Colorado Secretary of State. I'm based in Colorado now. Have both done a great job of making resources available to small businesses, and NMSU and the Arrowhead Center have done a nice job of collecting those many and varied resources into one place. So kudos on that, and I hope that anyone listening takes advantage of that to try to move through their resolve and resilience phases. The next phase described in the McKinsey report is the return to scale. And that's what a lot of people are hoping and waiting for the day that we return to scale. For a lot of us, it's out of our control. And it is certainly going to be an uneven return to scale. Industries, I've worked with people through Arrowhead that are very farm to table oriented, and their main source of selling is through flea markets. That it's going to take some time for something like that to come back. Boeing may be able to figure out how to build commercial airliners while maintaining social distancing, but until the airlines are able to profitably fill planes and meet customers' expectations for safety, the unevenness is going to end up, of course, being a drag on the entire economy. These first three phases, if I can steal a phrase from a book that was popular about a decade ago, these three phases can be classified as swimming in the red ocean. You're just trying to get back to your same competitive environment. And the next two phases help us realize that through this disruption, there's also opportunity. So reimagining is basically, to use a term some people don't like, what is the new normal going to look like? Some people don't want a new normal, they want the old normal. In my opinion, it's going to be a long time before we have the old normal, if ever. So the reimagine point that McKinsey encourages is, what does the new normal look like for us? What are the new opportunities? What are the new customer expectations? How can I differentiate myself and perhaps even improve my competitive position through this reimagination process? And with your kind permission, this is the area that I wanted to drill down on a little bit today, and I know our time is limited. But as far as reimagination, I also did a bit of a literature survey and tried to find what most of the experts think are going to be the areas where that reimagination, or where the new normal, is going to manifest earliest. MedTech, clearly, everybody's waiting for breakthroughs in vaccines that are shelf stable without refrigeration, that require one application, so you don't have to go to a rural area and figure out who you've given the first shot to and who you need to give the booster shot to. PPE, testing that can be done inexpensively at high volume. Those are all, MedTech breakthroughs that we expect to see coming as part of reimagining the new normal. Sensing, Internet of Things, big data, like MedTech, that's a trend that has been, we've seen for a number of years in the economy, and COVID is just going to make those trends accelerate. We're already seeing, for example, in sensing and IoT, there are smart thermometers out there that are better than the Centers for Disease Control at identifying the next hotspot. Big data, you've probably all read about researchers using anonymized cell phone data to characterize how effective social distancing is, and isolation fatigue and things like that. So these are trends that we were seeing before. They're just going to accelerate as a result of COVID. Non-contact customer engagement, I would argue that's another trend that's been going on for a while. Before COVID, you saw ads about apps on your phone where you could try on clothes without going to the store. So virtual customer engagement, from the initial engagement to sale to after sale service, has been a trend, but it's going to be driven even more strongly by COVID. And then, as I said earlier, you also have to think about the industries where non-contact just simply isn't possible. You're going to have to establish, what are my regulatory requirements to meet? What are my customer expectations? What perceptions are the customers going to have of my business based on how I deal with those expectations? Is there a differentiation opportunity for me if I can't deal in a strictly non-contact environment? Telework is another area where COVID is going to have an effect. And again, that's something that is just an acceleration of a trend that we've already seen. And up to this point, those of you who are software developers and CPAs may say, COVID doesn't affect me because you're able to take advantage of telework for social distancing. But I would ask you not to feel too safe and secure in that assumption, and remember that cybersecurity, backups, disaster recovery. All of those things are potentially going to be more challenging and more important under an increased telework sort of scenario. I would also encourage you to think about the soft aspects of telework. How do you maintain esprit de corps? How do you maintain vision and focus with a geographically dispersed workforce? Another trend is emergence of local supply chains. That has been somewhat of a trend, like the farm to table movement as an example, since we are Aggies after all, I should cite that. But then in mass consumer products, there's been a trend towards globalization where the labor is cheaper. So the trends are kind of going in both directions, but given the resiliency aspect of recovery, local supply chains may be able to aid that. And you also see things that I just saw today in the Denver Business Journal. Local restaurants are organizing to try to develop their own delivery alternatives to Uber Eats and Grubhub and things like that. So looking for opportunities in your local area to make your supply chains resilient. Another consideration that I've seen mentioned in the literature is consideration of the order of reopening. Just like individual industries are going to reopen unevenly, geographies are going to reopen unevenly. Asia, for the most part, has done a better job of containment than the Western world, so they have the potential to perhaps reopen their economies sooner. Europe is very uneven. Areas of Europe are doing better. Same with the U.S. So you need to consider both for your markets and for your supply chains how the order of reopening may affect you. So reimagination finally leads us to reform, and maybe I should pronounce that differently. Not reform as in a negative sense, but reform the positive sense. This is disruption. Market disruptions always result in winners and losers. If you anticipate the fact that your market is going to reform and that the rules are going to be rewritten, at least you're aware that they're going to be rewritten. You may actually have an opportunity to take part in the rewriting of those. To borrow from popular science fiction, you have the unwinnable scenario, but if you cheat and rewrite the rules, you can win the no-win scenario. So again, I know that the time that each of the advisors have to comment is limited, but I did feel like sharing this model with Arrowhead community, the larger NMSU, and even New Mexico community would give everybody a way to frame their thinking and to remember that, yes, survival, resolving critical issues is important, but you need to also spend a little bit of time thinking about the future and turning what is an unfortunate situation into the best possible outcome you can for your businesses. I encourage you to go to that web link that I provided earlier and avail yourselves of all the resources that Arrowhead has pulled out, including enterprise advisors such as myself. I'm here to help if you want it, offer a fresh pair of eyes to look at your red ocean and your blue ocean. How are you going to survive today, and how are you going to thrive in the future? As a lot of tech companies are affiliated with the Arrowhead Center, I know a lot of you are choosing to bootstrap through the SBIR program. I've not heard anything about a cessation of that program. Funding for it is based on the agencies that they serve, predominantly defense, but I've not heard anything about a cessation of that. So you should stick with it and write your proposals. I'll mention I've been a co-author on over 100 successful SBIR Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 proposals. So if you'd like a second pair of eyes to take a look at your proposal, I'm happy to do that, as I'm sure all of the enterprise advisors are. I've really, as I said, it's been a pleasure to be able to give back to NMSU everything that they've given to me. And frankly, it's so fulfilling to work with all of the talented people and companies that I've already been introduced to through Arrowhead. And I hope I get an opportunity to work with you soon. Take care.
This video was brought to you by the New Mexico Economic Development Department, Office of Science and Technology. Discover more resources to support your business at arrowheadcenter.nmsu.edu.